We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If we could start out, Colton Simpson, if you could lead us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, we are grateful for this day and the opportunities that come with it. We just ask that you give the court wisdom this evening, and may they make good decisions for the county. I also pray for the ones who couldn't be with us tonight, and Lord, I just pray for the health of the people in our county and in our nation and around the world, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, if we could pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Pat, if I could have you call row, and before we call row, I just want to say that Magistrate Humphrey will not be with us tonight. He had called, and hopefully will possibly join us next meeting or by Zoom.
Magistrate Riley.
Present.
Magistrate Kodar.
Present.
Present. Present for a motion to approve the minutes on the regular meeting dated July 21st, 2020.
Having read the minutes of our regular meeting dated July the 21st, 2020, I make a motion that we approve as presented.
I will second.
Motion made by Magistrate Kodar, a second by Magistrate Riley. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving down to fiscal matters, present for review for a motion to approve the claims drawn on the general fund, road fund, jail fund dated August 4th, along with the transfers as presented.
I make a motion to approve the claims presented this evening dated August 4th against the general fund, road fund, and jail fund, along with the requested transfers as presented.
I second.
Motion made by Magistrate Riley, a second by Magistrate Kodar. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, present for review the Grant County Treasurer's Cash Position Report for the month of July 2020. No actions required. Any comments or questions on it? Okay. Moving down to departmental reports, present for review the Grant County Animal Shelter Report, the Grant County Building Inspector's Report, the Grant County Road Supervisor's Report for the month of July 2020. No actions required. If you notice looking through the reports, it stuck out Building Inspector. It seems like activity is still moving strong. I think we had 7 single-family permits for dwellings for the month of July, a total of $7,000 worth of permits for the month of July. So it appears construction, remodeling, decking, and so on is marked on it and identified separately.
Got a lot of activity.
Yes. Any questions, comments on the departmental reports?
No, sir.
Okay. Moving down to Judge Executive's report. As I spoke to you all earlier, we're working on for our next meeting with an ordinance reference a text amendment to the planning and zoning. And then also our next meeting will also have Pettit Pike we'll be discussing in our next meeting. So that'll be coming up for the 18th. Just want to add that, we're still waiting on call back from Department of Transportation on road resurfacing. They haven't put anybody in that position, reference our discretionary funds. So trying to get it done. Been out today at the park looking at several things that's needing to be done. at the park, on the buildings, different things that we can get repaired and fixed before the damages get worse. So that's really all I have to report at this time. Moving down to reports for magistrates. Magistrate Codarn, do you have anything to report on?
Just like to say we had a meeting last week. Our courthouse here hosted a CACO meeting in which the judges of around the state, they could either come in on Zoom or they could attend it. And it was a very good session. It was like a brainstorm session and things that, you know, that are concerned across the state. And I think it was just a real interesting kind of format that they used. But it presented a lot of ideas, you know, maybe not all solutions, but things that if they required bills to the House or that type of thing, that, you know, it was something for us to think about and start pushing those agendas. So.
Okay. Magistrate Riley?
I just have a few updates. One starting with the Delaney Bridge replacement. Did want to share verbally some updates that we recently got from the state. Shauna and I, on a monthly basis, serve on the subcommittee that meets with the road supervisor. And regardless of county road or state road or city road, if it comes up, we try to follow up on what that is. So we did have the opportunity to email Buttermilk Pike to get a status update on the railroad bridges in the south end of the county coming off of US 25. One of those bridges clearly has been open, for about 9-10 months or so.
Yes, about that.
And the second bridge that's been in question is the Delaney Bridge replacement, and there's two bridges, of which one was completely demolished, and the materials were removed probably about a year and a half ago. And this project is somewhat complicated because at that point in time, they were going to put a new bridge in. Then it went to an at-grade crossing, in addition to purchasing or acquiring land for a connector road. And so there were, at one point in time, anywhere from 1 to 3 projects that would happen. This is also at the same time where we continue to monitor to the best of our ability, although it's a state's discretion to monitor the bridge that's currently there, which is a wooden structure. And at one point it was closed for several months because of safety. And so, long story short, a new bridge will not be replaced there at Delaney, nor will there be an at-grade crossing. But what will happen at this point in time is that connector road is still in progress. They have acquired all the right-of-ways except one property on the road, and it's actually, according to the state, held up in some litigation, but they believe, I'm not an attorney or a lawyer, but they do believe at some point they will make progress on that last piece of property that will allow them, with the anticipation of that road being completed, fall of 21. So I've gotten a few inquiries because that one wooden bridge that's still there on Delaney, it frankly could be closed any day now pending the structure. And this is also that same bridge where we've had heavy equipment, water trucks, cattle trailers, different things of that nature that exceeded the capacity, the weight capacity. So we need to continue to monitor that bridge to the best of our ability for proper usage, but now recognize no new bridge, no at-grade crossing, but rather it will be a connector road that will help that traffic flow through there. That was kind of new news to me. And like I said, this project has varied over the course of the past 4 years, in my opinion. And that's the latest update on that. And so I felt like we should probably share that just because folks are inquiring, and I'll follow up and share that detail separately with a few other folks. The only other thing that I am working, frankly, to get a better update on, and Colton is aware of this, he's worked on this from a countywide project. The Work Ready's community status work has truly been on hold for about 10 months or so, and it was even on hold well before COVID happened also, as the governor's administration changed. And There's a lot more questions than there seems to be answers at this point, whether or not the work-ready state criteria will change. And Grant County was deemed in progress for several years, and we were due to have an application renewed. And I chaired that committee for a while, but clearly it's been false. So I've been trying to work with the state just to get clarity on, will there be new guidelines? Do we have to resubmit from when we submitted in the fall for a 3-year extension? And I haven't gotten the answer to that yet. So more to come on that.
Okay. First, I meant to say in my reports that Steve Tatum, I excused him from being at the meeting tonight, but I just want to let you know that a couple of things that's been in the process and has got done. One of them, and Magistrate Codon's familiar with it, is over at Goats Valley Road. We've had several Amish families move in. They're concerned with people traveling Goats Valley Road because of the Twin Bridges shut down, of safety issues. So the road department was able to get out the warning signs of the horse and buggy signs posted, at least letting people know that there are slow-moving vehicles being horse and buggies on that road. So the families are living, it appears most of them in Owen County right on Goats Valley Road, but as you know, the other part of Goats Valley Road is Grant County. So we were able to get those signs out. The state is supposed to be working on getting their signs out on the state highway. Also, they're working on the mowing of all the right-of-ways. And I know that I spoke to them today because I've talked to them about Cynthiana Road coming down the hill near the landfill. They should be down there in the next couple of days. They're on Tillman Hill. What is it? Tillman?
High Tower, Tillman.
Yeah, Tillman High Tower Road is where they're finished mowing right now. So hopefully they'll be down at that point. Also, last week we were able, the gravel shoulder box that puts the gravel on the shoulder of the roadways, it was about 20-some years old. It had rusted out and was shot, so he was able to purchase a new one. They actually were out today with it, putting new shoulders on the roadway, so that was greatly needed. And with the rain and stuff, as our shoulders wash out, they were getting them put down. So I just wanted to add that in there real quick. Moving down to Jailer's report, we have a jailer with us, Mike Webster.
Good evening. So tonight we have 184 inmates in the facility, 30 of which are county, 154 are state, 56 of those being in the substance program. There's really not been many changes as far as COVID. We're still approved to be out working and are been inspected a few times. One thing I did want to bring to the court's attention, we received a grant. We received confirmation for a grant. We haven't seemed to receive the payment yet for $121,000, which that money will be used to aid us in some projects we had scheduled, some before COVID, which would have been helpful, and some to prevent COVID. Basically, every HVA system will have a purifier light put on it, and then we're going to get electronic medical records, and also move into the electronic side with the rest of our records as far as cell checks and stuff, which ultimately will save us quite a bit of money when we're looking at the printer, copier, paper, and storage. That's pretty much it in a nutshell for my report.
Thanks,
Questions?
And everybody staying healthy over there.
Yes. Go
Knock on wood.
That's what's probably most
Good.
important right now. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Moving down to the sheriff's report, we have Chief Deputy Todd Cummins with us.
I think the sheriff, last time he was here, told you the potential of two more deputies leaving. That is not potential. That is happening. Their last day will be August the 15th of this year. So that will put us, we had the three new recruits who got put out of the academy because of COVID go back to the academy. So they're now in the academy. So that puts us down to 9 deputies to patrol Grant County, 247 square miles of Grant County. So I gave each one of you a breakdown of just some numbers I went over today. We got 14 deputies. With those 2 leaving and the 3 new recruits in the academy, it gives me 9 deputies to cover 24/7. I'm not, it's not a shot at anybody. The state police is down hundreds of officers. They don't have any more units coming to Post 6 that we're aware of. We're in the process, Sergeant Wright put it out today, of rebidding shifts to try to stagger our shift times, stagger our start times, to try to keep 2 deputies at a time, 2 deputies on every shift to the best of our ability. That doesn't count vacations. It doesn't count sick days. Fortunately, right now we don't have to worry about school because none of them are going to school because they've still canceled all that. So that's an undertaking in and of itself with 9 deputies to try to cover the whole county. We have 2 deputies that are currently actively doing ride-alongs with other departments. So one of those deputies came to my office Monday and said he was leaving, came back 2 hours later and said, I can't. I'm going to go ride first. I don't know that I can leave. So that leaves us potentially with 2 more deputies to leave. If you look at the numbers, I've got 2 deputies that can retire today. I've got 2 more deputies that can retire in 6 to 8 months. So total, I've lost 8 deputies. I have the potential of losing a total of 11 over the next 6 to 8 months. At roughly $75,000 to $100,000 to replace a deputy before he ever serves the first day alone on the road, we're looking at $1.1 million to replace 11 deputies if we don't do something to fix this. And as I put in the thing, we're never going to be able to pay Boone County money or Northern Kentucky money. I understand that. But if we can get closer, I mean, it's hard to turn down a $20,000 a year raise to go up north. It's a little harder to turn down. It's more difficult to turn down only a $10,000 raise or something in that general vicinity. It's something we've got to address. The sheriff, I think, is working on it. I think he may have talked to you all about that. Ways to try to fix it this year. But when it comes back up next year, we're going to have help fixing it because, to be quite honest, the other day we took 13 traffic accidents in 8 hours. 4 of those were traffic accidents with injuries. 5 of those with injuries. 4 of them were on the interstate. So that takes 2 deputies at least to handle that accident with all the traffic and everything going on. So, when I have multiple accidents at the same time with injuries, I don't have nobody to go. And if the state police don't have somebody, or if Dry Ridge doesn't have anybody out, or if Williamstown only has 1 unit out, we just simply don't have the manpower. I mean, my evidence technician was taking calls for accidents with injuries the other day in her vehicle to go help with all the accidents we were having at the same time. It's just, it's a problem that we're going to have to fix. It's craziness.
What's the extra protocol when there's an accident on interstate? Do they call the state police first?
No, ma'am. They call us first. I mean, dispatches whoever, but right now there is no troopers to dispatch to accident with injuries.
Yeah, they call 911.
They call 911. It goes to KSP, but dispatch is going to send us. I mean, Bing's,
I guess educate me a little bit. Bing's, it's a interstate highway. Why do they opt to send the county versus the state first? I'm just asking.
They don't have troopers to send. They don't have a road units to send. So if there's not a road unit on duty, then they have to send us. They're not going to. If there's a Dry Ridge unit on duty, they're not going to send him to Corinth to work an accident at the 149, and they're not going to send Williamstown. They're going to send us. That's just the nature of the beast. That's how it is. And I'm not knocking KSP. I talked to an agency today in Northern Kentucky who, by the end of August, will have hired 4 troopers from KSP to come work for them because they're paying that much more. So KSP is fighting the same battle we're fighting, that they don't pay enough and they're not getting people. And, from the sounds of what I'm hearing from them, they're now almost a stepping stone agency. And you're looking at $1.1 million to replace the deputies in our department, and that's a lot of money. It's more effective to do the raise than to try to replace them because you just can't do it. We've got. Right now, I can't even start the process to hire anybody new because they've not opened the hiring process back up. I can't get a physical agility test done at Richmond with DOCJT because that process is not opened back up yet. And to be quite honest, we don't have laterals transfers coming to work that want to come to work here. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter.
There's more money.
It is how it is, you know. And in today's world, and quite honestly, what dummy wants to get them into law enforcement?
That's what I'm saying. There's so many more environmental factors that's surrounding this issue.
Right. Well, and the deputies that come and talk to us are saying, you know, as I put out in my memo, I can't fault them for wanting to better their families.
No,
I can't
not at
fault them for that, wanting to make more money to better their families and be able to afford nicer things. That's just the nature of the way it is. We all want nice things, and you know, I only worked at one police department before I came to work here. I went there, I started, and I stayed there 21 years, and then I came here. You know, so I never moved. I never left. The opportunities was there. I just didn't want to go. Yeah.
Todd, on these numbers, there's 9 currently, and then the potential of the 3 when they get out. But, and you're saying of those 9, 2 could leave.
Two could retire tomorrow. They could walk in tomorrow.
Back up here on this. So there's 9 as of August 15th.
15th.
And then subtract 2 from the 9 if the 2 leave, or is that already?
No, that's already subtracted. That's why I moved that over a little bit. That 5's already taken from the 14.
Okay, perfect. So I was just trying to.
Yeah, that's why I moved it over a little bit. Those 5 are subtracted from that 14.
And then I was backing it up on, I think we have been on a journey with this department slowly, within reason of what can be afforded in the total budget. But I was very curious to take a look at the number of road deputies that have been staffed in the past via the budget, you know, whether it was 12, 15, 16, and then how many we even have staffed in this budget, although they may not be filled. Like, I just want to look at that because as you try to think, like at the jail, sometimes we may not be able to staff all those positions, but if the money's there, is there something we could agree upon that we're going to be a department of 14, but we budgeted 16 salaries, and can we reallocate some of that?
Right.
I know as much as I've looked at this budget, at least before the occupational tax was implemented, there really wasn't any additional cushion. There was very little programs elsewhere that could be cut in order to shift the money.
Right. There's no fluff in the budget.
And I know there isn't in hardly any of these budgets, whether it's park and rec, animal shelter, other projects, period. And so I just try to take a step back and say, we're on now, the 3rd year of the occupational tax, and I think we have raised, I think when we started as magistrates, I think the base pay was $29,000, maybe 30, and
Right.
we've tried to chip away a little bit without busting the whole budget the last couple years, and I still think that there's room.
No, and I agree. You've tried, but I'm just bringing it to your attention. I mean, I know we're not ever going to make Northern Kentucky money, and the other
And
thing.
that's why so many people drive. And that's just, this is a bedroom community. Majority of folks drive for employment, but that's not to say that we still can't make progress on a base salary, you know, to provide the
Well, I
adequate
think
coverage.
the sheriff has worked on it, and I made notes to myself. Every deputy that's either leaving or has left, with the exception of one, fulfilled their 2-year contract. So a 2-year contract's not the answer, because every deputy that's left has fulfilled that 2-year contract except one.
Yeah, that was a discussion last meeting,
So
and I still
that-
think we could do that and implement that. That's one scenario, but that's not going to solve this.
Right. But as I say, even if we did that, they've all fulfilled their 2-year contract.
Right, and so you're not going to get
You're-
that
you're not,
$100,000
Right.
back. But
Right.
I still would like to go back to, even though we budget it, doesn't mean the money comes in. And we've learned that lesson quite a few times. We could budget it on paper that we're going to make $12 million in revenue, but it doesn't mean it comes in. But I mean, I do think that we need to identify what do we think's the right balance of positions, and maybe we dial back funding a few positions for the sake of doing more on the base salaries.
And I think, I mean,
That's the only thing I can immediately think of.
14's bare bones. That's about as low as you can go and actually do it with schooling and with vacation and everything. And still, even then, There's times where we're having to pay overtime, or the sergeant's having to work one of his off days to cover a shift because somebody's on vacation. So, I mean, realistically, 15, 16 is probably the better number.
I'm trying to think, I thought that's what we had 16 budgeted. Does that sound right? Does that, or am I don't have it in front of me. That's one piece of data I want to look at, and also the trends, because this county hasn't changed that much. I mean, the ARC's been here how many years now? 4, 5? 4 years, and I know that we anticipated a heavier traffic volume, so I think there's a lot that we could probably look at, the year-end spent by the sheriff's department, also what their payroll and staffing was, to see if we could, come up with.
And I think the sheriff had the numbers. I think last year we were up 250, 300 more reports than we were the year before, and upwards close to 1,000 to 1,500 more calls for service than we were the year before. So our call volume's going up, so it's not going down.
Well, what is going up because the state police isn't, probably calling out as much. I would like to think we could use our relationships with Mr. Mills through the years that many of us have established to say, could we get some more help? And I know his hands are probably tied too. But I also believe, as Chuck indicated, and this truly has been a trend, this is no BS, the property taxes, people are building homes. And now, whether or not we go into a recession here, even the monies that have been generated by the $25 fire dues, the fire departments got more money last year, to my knowledge, than they had gotten previous years because the economy has been so strong. And I do think, as we get more industry here and we have more homes built, that generates property taxes, but it still doesn't solve the immediate.
Right. And I would invite, and I'm not just singling you two out, but you and Shauna to come out and ride with the deputies for a couple days on second shift.
I'll bring my handcuffs.
Come out
from the jail days.
Come out from 4 to 8 and just ride and see where they go in the call volume. I mean, we just got new cruisers in last week.
I saw that. How did you get those in record-breaking time? I would really like to know.
I'm smart.
I thought, and then here's your magistrate thinking, I surely hope we have all that money accounted for, because it's so early in the budget, you were stressing me out. Like, this county, I don't believe, has got cruisers that early in the past.
Well, here's how that worked, in the fact that when the Chevy dealer told me that they were revamping the Tahoes, so if I wanted 2020 Tahoes, I better order them last year, because he ordered them. So they've been sitting on their lot since February. So January 1st, when y'all approved the budget, I called him and said, hey, send those cars to L&W. That's how I got them so fast, because I ordered them last year.
Well,
and they kept them.
And well before this occupational tax ever came in, we would have never been able to have gotten new cruisers until December, January, February.
Well, usually that's not a problem, because if you order them in July, you don't get them until then.
I was like, dang, I saw them getting outfitted.
And I was going to say is, Deputy Conrad got a new Tahoe. It came with 64 miles on it. He's driven it 2 days. It now has 350 miles on it. And that's just patrolling the county.
What do you think some solutions are?
I mean, the salaries are a solution, but it's the benefits and stuff that come with it. And I understand we can't make that giant leap at one time. And we are making progress.
And we know we haven't made enough. I wish that there could be more, and I think all of us are committed to doing more in that.
And that's all we can ask, is just to try to do more and try to like we tell the deputies, we're working on it. The magistrates and the fiscal court is working with us. We're trying to improve this. Our equipment is getting better, so that's always a plus. Mm-hmm. If we make the pay and gradually make that, if we improve those little things in the equipment, and those are always pluses. And if we get close to where you say, well, I know it's a $10,000 and $15,000 raise to go up north, but when I go up north, I've got a sergeant, a lieutenant.
Is it really worth it?
And so if you make it a little bit more competitive, they say, is $10,000 more a year really worth me not being able to have supper with my wife at home, or go see my kids, or tuck my kids in at bed at night? Is $10,000, $12,000 really worth that going up there, or is it worth more to stay home? I mean, I'll tell you, speaking from a guy that went 21 years up north, I could have went back north again.
Yep.
I had chief jobs that I could have taken, but it was more money, but it wasn't the convenience that I look at now. And I can say that with, because of where I am now. But if I was a 25-year-old, I couldn't turn down that more money. I could turn it down now, But the convenience of being able to be home and tell your wife goodnight or go eat supper at home with your family, that's worth something. It's may not worth $25,000, but it's worth $10. Yeah. $10,000 less money. But it's just something to think about. So I put it on paper. That was a suggestion by the jailer. Told me to put it on paper.
No, I mean,
so that way you can actually see it, and it's in your head. You can see what we're talking about, and the struggles that we look at, and the potential struggles in the future that we have.
Well, and to educate the community, like where we're at right now, is there's going to be a lengthier time to respond to calls and to educate folks. And I mean, I know, like in my area, it was a sacrifice I made when I moved further out. I was acknowledging that I was probably going to handle my own situation if it warranted, because it was going to take them 20 minutes plus to get there.
We're coming, but we may not get there fast.
But I just think it does, to acknowledge trends, to look at data, to get things on paper, and to try to see where we can continue to make progress, because there's work to be done.
And having the 3 recruits, because they finished their FTO program. And they were actually on the road taking calls. They weren't extra deputies, but instead of having 4 on second shift, there's days I had 6, or Mike Sergeant Wright had 6, because you had 2 of the recruits out there. They weren't by themselves necessarily, but they were in their own vehicle, so it put 6 cars on second shift versus 4 cars on second shift. Yeah. So it looked like we were a whole lot more out there.
Well, and presence is a lot.
Right.
When do they graduate?
October 27th.
Okay. And then
or 26th, I
we
think.
still wanted to do that appreciation for the month of August at some point. I know we should probably base that off of Roger's thing, but we still wanted to do some type of grill out, if that's allowed in this day and age.
They graduated the 29th, I think.
Okay.
They're back. The 29th of October.
On your, you say there's more call-outs and that type of thing. What trends are you seeing on what the call-outs are for?
I mean, you're getting the thefts. The thefts right now are, out of this world. We're still chasing the trailer thefts that we have going on. The other night, the first time in probably a couple years, I had a call of a catalytic converter getting stolen off a vehicle. So that's going to start coming back, and just different things, and in domestics, and then when it rains. I mean, when it physically rains, there's 2 spots on the interstate that you might as well go park at the 149 and the 164. Because that's where the accidents are going to be. You just might as well go set a cruiser there, because that's where it's going to happen. Because the water pools and it jerks them. And yes, the other day we had 2 people ejected out of. They didn't go out the front windshield of the car. Their car spun, hit the guardrail. They went out the back window. They went out backwards, out their car, over a 60-foot embankment. So.
Has anyone approached the DOT for the accident rate on those 2 positions during rain?
I mean, I'm pretty sure can I say that for sure? No.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if it's that much.
Well, we know it, and I think they know it too. But we'll next week I'll call and make sure they know that those are the 2 specific areas. They just did southbound 164. They just resurfaced it last year.
Yeah.
So
They monitor the data from the accident reports are done by GPS.
Yeah.
So those locations and the type of accidents, because it indicates on there that they hydroplaned.
Yes.
So the state's getting that data.
So yeah, they should know.
But my question
like
is,
I said,
what are they doing about it?
No, just like I said, I put it on paper just so you guys can put your eyes on it and see what we're looking at as far as covering the county. And I hope the citizens understand that, it's going to take us longer. And, we're coming. It just may take us longer to get there, because there's sometimes that we're the only sheriff and one riot, one ranger. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
All right.
Moving down to citizens' address. Anyone want to address the court? Dave, come on up.
What a sad discussion we just witnessed. I mean, help an old guy out, will you? I talked to Colton last meeting about not having the agenda on the website or the minutes for the meetings, seeing how we started a new year. So we've got the minutes for July 7th, but we don't have for the last meeting, the 21st, I think. And there's no agenda. I can't find a spot for tonight's agenda. I mean, I like seeing what we're going to discuss when we have court, and I like writing it down beside the notes. And I can understand you want to go paperless because you got that, but I'm asking if you can put the agenda on the website. I was on the website up to 4 o'clock this afternoon, and I didn't see the agenda on it, so I figured, well, it ain't going to happen.
We'll work on putting that on
I
there.
say we haven't in the past. Good suggestion. The July 21st minutes, we can't publish them until they're approved, and we just approved them tonight. So those
2
will.
weeks? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
because we
oh,
only
okay.
meet.
I
We
can-
only meet the first and third. So first and third Tuesday of every month. So those will be published or printed or uploaded. Probably next
The
year.
agenda is what we can work on. Is
I
Jackie.
normally do that the Wednesday after the meeting, so either, tomorrow, late sometime in the afternoon, those should be on the website at the latest on Thursday.
Yeah, but for the next meeting is what I'm wanting for today.
He's talking about the agenda,
I
not the
want the
minutes.
agenda for
Yeah,
today.
we haven't ever done that,
on the
but we could.
website. I mean, I figured you'd have it made up by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, for tonight. And it wasn't on the website. That's all I'm asking. If you could throw it on the website.
Okay, we can do that.
Having it?
Yeah.
Well, and Mr. Rose, I'd be happy to email it to you. If you want to give me your email address, I'll email it when I email
I'm
everybody
nobody
else.
special.
To
I don't know. I'm just.
Well, we can just put it on the email thread. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
anything
I
extra.
just add you to the email list.
Okay. The next thing is, after looking at the minutes for the 7th, I got the financials for last year. And again, I come from private industry, and I've looked at budgets all my life, and I'm trying to figure out on the revenue condition report, the original budget. There's a column that says original budget, and then the total budgeted, and then the percent received. And when you have more money received than what you had budgeted, there's brackets around that number. And I'm trying to understand where I come from. Brackets around a number means a negative number. That means less than what was supposed to happen, or you overspent. Say you budget $100,000, and this is on expenditures, and you spent $150. Well, that the $150 should be in parentheses or brackets because it's over the budget. But I'm looking at revenue condition, and I'm telling you, it's I don't know if this is a state, but this goes against the norm out there in the real world, the way these things are done.
I could tell you this. Sitting in this seat, it is hard at times to compare this public budget to a private sector budget at times. And one of the biggest learnings or caveats that I've kept is a budget is a budget is a budget. It's just the best planned estimate on what we think will come in and what we also think we will spend. And we're also, according to the Department of Local Government that approves it, like you aren't like in trouble if it doesn't meet, if you don't meet the outline predicted budget, but you do have to stay close to it because clearly you can't spend money you don't have. And that's been also a hard thing, I think, for sometimes department heads to realize because we declare a budget effective July 1st. But a lot of times the revenue doesn't come in until the property taxes come in, which is October, November, December, January, and then if you've got late stragglers, until we started implementing the occupational tax, which is paid quarterly.
No offense, but that's an unacceptable answer.
Well, I mean, that's the reality. You have to do the best planning that you could do.
Well, I understand that, and you do that in the real world too. I mean, basically, budgets are made out a lot, some of it, part of it, probably 25% is guess at best. But you've got last year's data to use, you've got the last 5, you've got the last 10 to look at how you're spending your money and versus the revenue coming in. So you can make a real good educated guess as to, you know, what the budget for the thing I'm saying is, though, I don't care anything about that. What I'm saying is you got more revenue dollars here than what was budgeted, and it's showing it's negative. In my world out there, it's got brackets around it when it shouldn't have brackets. It should be a positive because it's more than what you thought was coming in.
You're talking about the mechanics of the software is what you're talking
Exactly.
about. Yes.
You-
And it,
I mean, you
it
just-
is confusing.
Well,
I
it's
agree
stupid.
with but you have, that's why you have to understand why.
No, you have to change this to the real world, really. I mean, you have to push back on these things that aren't right. Because you can't say, well, yeah, that's the way it is here, but right here today, you have to, no, you don't have to. You have to push back on these people that throw this stuff at you.
There's no one throwing, I mean, that's the software we choose to use. No one's making us, I mean, I don't.
Well, I don't know if are you looking
Showing-
at, are you looking
showing
at the
that way
revenue?
Because there's a difference. I mean, it's a good thing. You want more revenue coming in than you budgeted. You don't want less revenue.
Well, then
than
you should
budgeted.
show it as a plus,
See,
not
that's
with
what,
brackets
that's what he's saying.
around
If
it.
you, according to the revenue condition report, if you show it as a negative, it's actually a positive. You've got more coming in than what you said you did. I mean, it's sort of opposite the debit credit situation as, you know, it's just the way this software, you know,
Well,
is
you need to-
displaying. I don't know, are you looking at the real property tax on 4101 on the July the 1st? to the
I'm
June
looking
30th?
at any number on here.
Okay.
Any number on here where where the original budget was, and then total budgeted, and then you go over here to percent received.
Right.
You got 104% on one item here, which is $4,600 and some odd dollars, and it's in brackets, meaning negative. And it should be a positive because you got more money in than what was budgeted, allocated, whatever you want to call it. The revenue was above what your expectations were. It shouldn't come out as a bracketed, it should come out as a positive. And where you have less money coming in on your budget, then those should be in brackets.
All
saying
those
that we
brackets mean is it's the difference in what was budgeted and what's
Well-
actually come in.
And you have to know what account you're using, your revenue account or your appropriations account. I mean, it's the mechanics of the software.
Again,
And you have to understand that that's what's going on.
no, unacceptable answer.
I know.
The next thing is the appropriation condition report, which I gather that's expenditures, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It can't say expenditures, it's got to say appropriation condition report. It can't, if we can't keep it in simple layman's terms, we have to do all these governmental.
That's the
Yeah,
government's
Now,
the one
that
that
one
names
is
it.
declared by, the
Yes.
title of that is
Yeah,
declared
the
by
revenue-
DOT.
Yeah, well, again, you can't fix stupid, you just make more stupid. So my question is, I don't see anywhere where you're over budgeted. There's no documentation on here where you spent more money for an item. Everything is 100% or less. There's nothing where you went over on your budget.
That's why you cannot,
You can't do that.
according to,
Yeah, I know.
well, what happens is when that if you tend to go over on a budget, what you have to do is decide another line item that you have been under on the budget, and then you have to do a transfer to accommodate that. But you also got to make sure that you intend, that you're getting close probably to the end of the year, and that amount is not going to be used before you transfer that budget. That amount that you're going to need. If you look into the reserves for transfer, that's what happens when you spend more than you had not planned to. So you pull it out of that reserve or push it into that reserve to cover that.
Well, that happens on a lot of things. That happens if our insurance premium increases. We budget $100,000. It's going to be $110,000. We're going to transfer that from reserve from transfer or from a line item that we're not going to spend. So they're all going to come out 100%. But, we'll never spend over 100% of the overall budget.
And one thing that, for auditing purposes, once you assign your budget, the amounts have to balance your beginning budget, no matter what you do, even if you have to have reserves to balance it.
I understand.
I know you do.
I understand that.
The issue's the brackets. And a prime example, on the revenue,
Yes.
when we do that, and we do it just like that, we look at last year's, we look at the last few years of spending and what revenues come in. But, for example, this year, after we've done the budget, we received $850,000 from the federal government on that Corona-19 money. That wasn't even budgeted. So what's going to happen is you're going to see us at some point amend the budget
Yep.
to take that money in.
We
In
have
that
to.
budget, you're looking at the year end, last year, there would have been money in there for the Heritage Trail, where
Yes.
this body was the fiscal agent of that money, which that didn't come either, but we had to plan as if it was coming to show a placeholder in the budget for that state and federal
That's $1.5
funds.
million sitting in there
That wasn't technically realized.
And
Hey, Dave, I hear you. I'm going to tell you, sir, there is value in serving multiple terms as a magistrate, and I would have never believed it, but I think it is very helpful to spend more than just 4 years looking at this stuff, because if there's trends and there's one-off scenarios, and I agree, the software isn't as user-friendly as you would think it would be, but
it's real hard to look at this and look at where you were, because when your original budget says telephone, say $30,000, and then you transferred in $10,500 into that, so now you got total available dollars for the year was $40,500, and you spent $40,105. So you spent 99%, where in reality you didn't. You went over your budget of $30,000, and you had to bring 10 and a half.
right.
But we track that.
That's why it's really important that you have that transfers, positive and negative, into your line in there to show what movement was done. I mean, that's the purpose
Well,
of the.
was that an aberration? Was that 10,500 an aberration because you updated the telephone system? So that's only going to be this year and the next
Possibly.
Could be.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I rest my case.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anytime you want explanation.
Hey, the positive thing is, Dave, we're bringing in more money than we spend.
I know.
I get what you're saying, how you're reading it, but
Well, it's just trying to follow it, and I'm telling you, you all are doing a fantastic job for county government, for a government
You're
body.
starting to make me wonder if you think we are or not.
Well, I'm just trying to.
No, it's
I
fine.
mean, this is like muddy water here
Well,
when
and
you
here's-
look at this. When you look at the financials,
And
because
come spend time with Pat. That's and Peggy. That's helped me a lot.
yeah. Well, see, I'm old and I got limited gray matter, and for this new bracket thing on a positive, I can't push any
Just let
gray
it-
out
let
to
it
put
be.
that in
Let
there.
it
So
go, Dave.
I know
Let it
I
go.
will.
If you understand what it is, then
you think that's hard? Try to read an audit report. I've been reading them for years, and I'm still confused.
Audit report.
Yes.
I
Give
used
him a
to do
copy. Send it to him. drose@fuse.net, I think. I don't. David, is your D Rose at fuse.net? D. Okay. Don't forget the J. DJ Rose. Yeah.
You're on the list, Dave.
Woo!
You'll be getting telemarketer calls now by email. Anybody else have anything to address the court with? That's correct. That's correct.
I didn't hear you say one thing that would help him do any of his problems. Now, I don't know why in the world, how many years was you?
30 years.
I voted for you a long time.
I've had those conversations with him and the sheriff.
Okay, has he got any of
That's what we're working on. We're addressing them.
Okay, he didn't seem to give you much credit. He didn't say much,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
I'm making calls out on the highway, that's a federal state highway. So why can't we charge a state back? It's just like keeping prisoners at the jail, they supposedly pay us.
That's a good thought.
So why can't we charge them
No, I'm saying,
on the highway? I mean, they
We'll
do
send them a bill.
ambulance runs,
yeah,
right?
let's see if they'll pay it. I mean,
What do you think about that, Mr. Attorney?
I think you make all the claims you want to make.
Yeah, it's in the county.
Well, what's it hurt to do that? And what's the hourly rate or the rate, a fair charge for doing it? Taking a man out of a person from law enforcement out of his territory basically and putting him out on a
You're not going to get the federal government to pay you. They paid for the road to be put in. They gave the money to the state to build it, and the sheriff's responsible for the Grant County. So, I mean, you're not going to be able to charge someone for services on state and federal highways. You just, I mean, you can't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you just can't do it.
It'll be short research, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything to address the court with? If not, I want to remind everybody our next meeting is August 18th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. here at the courthouse. I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
And I will second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're now adjourned.